Figure in the area of science and engineering, Dr. Mashelkar has received honorary doctorate degrees from 42 universities around the globe that include University of London, University of Wisconsin, Monash University, Delhi University, and of course Amity University Gurugram on 2nd of February 2019. For his very distinguished service to the nation and to the scientific community, the President of India honored Dr. Mashelkar with Padma in 1991, with Padma Vibhushan in year 2000, and with Padma Vibhushan in 2014, all the three highest civilian honors which a person can get from Mother India. Star of Asia honor was conferred upon him by President of USA, the Business Week Star of Asia Award, and of course the very prestigious Santi Swarup Bhatnagar Prize for Science and Technology, among several other honors and awards which Dr. Ram Mashelkar has received. Dr. Mashelkar, we are truly privileged and feel greatly honored to have you here with us today at Amity Eminent webinar that has been addressed in the past by three Nobel laureates, and each one of them, including Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji, and Nobel laureate of Peace, Professor Yunus, they asked us to rethink and reimagine what we should really do. And today we look towards you for your words of wisdom as to what kind of post-COVID world we need to create and to engage ourselves seriously in that direction so that the world tomorrow is 1,000 times better than what it is today. Amity is of course not new to you. As you kindly know, that Amity is India's #1 private university, deeply committed to foster quality education, society-relevant research, and innovations in plenty. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Founder President Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Amity Education Group, within a short span of 2 decades, has become world's largest education group, currently enrolling more than 175,000 students in 10 Amity universities in India and 17 campuses abroad that include Amity in London, Amity in Singapore, Amity in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, Netherlands, Mauritius, Romania, South Africa, Kenya, and lately the university has established its campus at Tashkent. I feel highly delighted to mention that being a research and innovation driven university, Amity has filed over 1,200 patents and have published over 15,000 research papers in journals of high repute. Before I request Padma Vibhushan Dr. Mashelkar to bless us with his words of wisdom, may I invite my Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Aseem Chauhan, who is an inspirational breakthrough leader for the Amity University, to say a few words in the honor of Dr. Mashelkar. Over to you, Honorable Chancellor Dr. Aseem Chauhan ji. Please unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Shamaji. Thank you, Professor P.B. Sharma. Today is one of the greatest days for Amity University, Amity Education Group. We have a person with us who has not only guided and mentored the Amity Education Group for many, many years, but also, I feel, the one person, and maybe only the one person, who embodies all of the core philosophies and values of Amity, which our founder president has put forth for the Amity community, for the faculty, scientists, and students. One is a sharp focus on research and innovation. And as Dr. Mashelkar, you know, sir, each Amity University is built on a backbone of and DNA of research and innovation, not only the patents filed, not only the publications and the collaborations, but also for undergraduate students, a focus on research, innovation, entrepreneurship development, incubators, and accelerators. The second quality which Dr. Mashelkar embodies, which at Amity from the beginning, our founder has been trying to imbibe, is a feeling that if you work hard and you strive, you can achieve anything in life. And that is what we're trying to teach our students. And Dr. Mashelkar, who came from a very humble background, who on a scholarship from Tata could get an education and then rose to the greatest of heights globally, is a manifestation and representation that with hard work, with ingenuity, with sincerity, one can achieve every height in the world. And you're a role model, sir, for so many children of our country who may feel that they do not have opportunities today, but after seeing you, they will feel we can truly achieve. The third quality that I've seen in Dr. Mashelkar that we have been trying to imbibe in our students is the sense of values and sanskars. And we always say, no matter how high you reach, and our founder has said this in hundreds or thousands of speeches to our students, it does not matter what height you reach or what you achieve in life, never forget where you came from and never forget your parents. And I have not heard Dr. Mashelkar even give one speech in which he does not address his mother and her contribution in his success. And sir, your remembering your mother at every point is so touching for me. I felt so emotional when we spoke about her, and we honor her always. And your contributions, your success is an honor to her as well, sir. And the fourth attribute, sir, which you represent, which we at Amity also have in our blood, is this feeling of patriotism, that India as a nation can achieve all levels of success compared to any other country. And you talk about not leapfrogging, but pole vaulting. And at Amity, we have this philosophy also that we do not need to grow incrementally. We can grow geometrically. We do not need to evolve. We can do it through revolution, not evolution. And sir, whenever you have spoken to us, we have taken pages of notes. And I can promise you, we have implemented every one of your thoughts, because we truly believe in who you are as a person and the ideas that you give us. We promise you that we are dedicated to that. We are so grateful today, sir, that you have given us time. And I may just add here, sir, that you're the only person in our history who has not received one honorary doctorate from Amity, but two, one from our university in Haryana and one from Uttar Pradesh. You're the only person who has two Amity University honorary doctorates, and that makes you especially very special to us. So I'm grateful. We have great love and affection for you. We look up to you as a family member, and we look forward to hearing every word. Our founder is online. I will ask him if he would like to say a word now. Of course, afterwards he will also speak. But founder, anything you would like to add?
Asim ji, I will show this book, Leapfrogging and Pole Vaulting. I was reading this book, and my wife, Amita Chauhan ji, who is a very wise lady, came. You had already read it. I told her I'm reading for the second time, because and this book is always on my table, because on every page there is some inspiration, there is some advice, and I have given to all my family members to read it. So, sir, first of all, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mentioned about this book, and I procured a large number of copies. As Asim ji told, sir, do you find that the great innovative son? We approved his competence. Asim is greatly innovative and greatly thoughtful for all innovation. Since I met you in CSIR, that day I decided I want to be the biggest private organization in the country in the science and innovation. First in the India, private initiative, and then all over the world. For this commitment, sir, the credit goes to you, because whatever I heard from you, you inspired me, Dr. Han. Why can't we do it? Because India has so much innovation. So Asim ji, Dr. V. Sharma, this whole credit goes to Mashelkar ji. And we are so proud, sir. We are eager to listen to you. I'll say a few words later on, but welcome, sir. We are so proud, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with these words of wisdom and blessings coming from our founder president, sir, may I now present to you the most illustrious son of Mother India, one of the most eminent scientists of Mother Earth, Dr. Ram Mashelkar, to share his thoughts and views on reinventing and reimagining the post-COVID world. Over to you, Dr. Mashelkar, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, very grateful to you for all those very kind words. Honorable President Ashokji Chauhan, then Honorable Chancellor Asim ji, Professor Sharma. As was rightly mentioned, I have two honorary doctorates from Amity. So I feel very proud that I'm an alumnus of this great, great university. And I remember those early days, Ashokji, when we used to meet at Tour of Imag, when you have that glint in your eye and the passion in the belly to create an institution which will be not just world class, which will not just be best practice, but the next practice university. And you did it. It is absolutely outstanding. One feels very, very proud for not only MIT, but for India, with a global footprint that you have, that we have been able to create an institution of this kind. After all, education is future, and you are building the future of India. The topic I have chosen today is about COVID and what will be the post-COVID world like. But most importantly, I'm saying it is not about recovering, but reinventing and reimagining. So those leaps of faith that yes, the humanity will bounce back and achieve great heights is something that I want to embody. And of course, I must declare in the beginning only that people call me a dangerous optimist. So what I say is looking at the positive side of this pandemic and how we can rise. First of all, the word AC and BC, it is before COVID and after COVID. So what is going to be the word after COVID? And that word is going to be very, very different. That's the main point we have to understand. The first is when the coronavirus pandemic hit us, the most important part of it was the rapidity with which it hit. For example, if you go back to 1331, the bubonic plague to spread Black Deaths from China and Italy took almost 16 years. And do you know now, once again from China to Italy, for the coronavirus to spread, it took just 16 weeks, not 16 years, but 16 weeks. That is the rapidity. The second part is not only the rapidity, but the great impact of that. For example, within 3 months, there were 160 crore children who were studying from home. They couldn't go to school, for example. That's a big, big impact indeed. The home became office very quickly. The home delivery became a norm, which used to be an exception. If you look at telemedicine, for example, British expert has said that what we would have done in 10 years, we did it in 10 days. That's the acceleration of change that was phenomenal. So whereas there were good things that were happening, there were some terrible things also. Like the disparities increased exponentially. Inequalities increased exponentially. The destruction of lives, destruction of livelihoods, for example. And can you just believe in 3 months, there were 49 million people who went from poverty to extreme poverty within just 3 months. So many years of gain was wiped off within no time. And we have in India those vivid figures which we had sleepless nights watching those migrant laborers walk hundreds of kilometers. That's the kind of disparity we had. The frailty of our public health infrastructure also became very clear. So when we look at the future, of course, we have to restart what has been stopped. We have to rebuild what has been destroyed, and we have to recover. So restarting, rebuilding, recovering is fine. But I would strongly suggest that we recover the economy, but not recover the environment that we have. Because if you remember, you have seen those photographs of Yamuna River for the first time turning blue, and the skies from gray to blue, etc. So when we are recovering, we should not recover that old state of gray skies and gray rivers, but they must be blue skies and blue rivers. And we have seen now the human activity. In fact, according to me, this great pandemic provides us with forecasts of what a full-fledged climate crisis would be. It's like a trailer on what can happen if we have a full-fledged climate crisis. In terms of exogenous shortage of both supply as well as demand side, as well as disruption of supply chains. And you can see the global transmission and amplification mechanism that we have witnessed. That's what will happen in climate change. So to me, this is a trailer. And that is why we have to, that's why I'm saying it's not about recovering, but reimagining and reinventing to a new future. You know, we've been talking about social distancing. I don't like that word. It is physical distancing, but with social bonding. You know, we are talking about economic recession. We can't have a social recession. All right. So that bonding becomes extremely important. And how do we maintain that is going to be sort of a big challenge. I would say among the lessons that we have, one of the important ones is that there has been a huge acceleration of what was known. There are no new phenomena. Let us say we talk about work from home. Everybody started talking about working from home. Is it something new? It is not. Our own Indian IT industry created a global revolution by pioneering remote work 3 decades ago, if you remember, Y2K and the rest of it. So what has happened now is the vast increase in the speed, in the scale, and in the scope. That is the main difference. It's not something new, but massive acceleration. If you look at work from home, the way things are going to change is that people have suddenly realized that from home also you can do work more effectively. In fact, I can tell you that during last 3 months, I've been more busy than I was before COVID. Of course, one is zooming in, zooming out throughout the day, but creating contact around the world. Now, some of that is going to stay. For example, KPIT Technologies, I'm chairman of their innovation council, and I was talking to the CEO, Ravi Pandit, on the other day, and 90% of their people are working from home. And he said, when we resume normal activity, 50% of them will work from home. TCS has announced something similar. So then I asked him, I mean, working from home has its joys, but its own limitation. Because human being survives because of the social contract, contact that one has. And he said, yeah, that is what we are going to do. It is not just going to be digital, but digital plus physical. We'll have those 5 working days at 3+2. 3 days from home and 2 days from office, so that there is a social connect. The point I'm trying to make is that post-COVID, these are going to be the new models that will sort of come. You can see now the new opportunities that will come working from home for millions of homebound women, for example, who for social time and safety reasons could not do any jobs, and they were unable to take full-time job. Then you can see also that as the digital connectivity improves, shift of work to smaller towns, rural areas becomes possible because they were so far left out. They will be included. There will be a more inclusive society. You know, the old idea, if you see, and I'm very happy that there are a number of graduates, that a single person will do a single job. That was the past. No more so. There will be the gig workers, like a single person doing multiple jobs, work part-time. And for companies also, it's a big benefit because they will have lower cost in terms of office space and electricity and the rest of the cost. I think there are 3 Ds which will summarize what is going to happen. First, digitalization. The second, decentralization. And third, decarbonization. Just think about it. When Ravi Pandit told me why is he going to do that, he said, look, I was transporting 2,000 people by buses, burning fuel, diesel, and creating carbon footprint, wasting 2-3 hours of their time. I don't have to do that. So the digitalization is leading to decarbonization because people are transporting sort of less. Then there is a second issue about decentralization that is going to come, again because of digital technology. When you talk about 3D printing, for example, it is distributed manufacturing, so as to say. All right, you can do manufacturing at the back of your garage. That is decentralization. So the entire supply chain actually changes. Decentralization will also have another meaning, because what has happened is that after the shock, if you look at different components being delivered by different companies for different countries, suddenly they are getting broken, and so people will say, and previously it was just in time, like auto sector. They will store everything, but minimum inventory, because at any time they could get it. Now they are not sure. So just in time will become just in case. So I think these are going to be massive changes. So just in case would mean, once again, decentralizing and production within a region rather than some far corner of the world. So the entire scenario is going to change. Let me move to something. You know, our Honorable Prime Minister, in his usual inspiring fashion, had charged the nation on creating Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes on Atmanirbhar Bharat. I love that idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat. But for creating that Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have to have Atmavishwas. All right? Self-confidence that, yes, we can. Again, Atmanirbhar Bharat, many people ask, oh my God, does it mean going back to protection with high tariff barriers, etc.? I would say no. It is not isolation, but integration with global supply chains. Now, people talk about always two pillars on which that will be based. Either you buy or you make. No. I would want our Atmanirbhar Bharat to be based on the strong footing of 5 pillars. And I will describe these 5, what I might like to call as Mashelkar pillars, which I had proposed in my 1998 C.D. Deshmukh Memorial Lecture in India International Center, and it was titled as Economics of Knowledge. So some of these ideas have to be revisited, and I will revisit that idea for you for the next 10 minutes. What are the 5 options? What are the 5 pillars? The first is buy, second is to make, third is to buy to make better, fourth is make to buy better, and fifth is make it together. And I will explain each one of these. It can't be just make or buy. Buy. Buy a technology, buy components when you have dollars and people are prepared to give it. But even if you have dollars, are companies prepared to give you the technology? I'm sorry, no. My own experience tells you that they don't look at India just as a bottomless pit of demand. They look at us as a competitor. I'll give you an example. For example, Alpha Olefin. I remember I was on the board of directors of IPCL, and a lot that I will talk about in this lecture is based on my own book of life, by the way. I don't read textbooks and then tell you what I read in the textbook, from my own book of life. We wanted alpha olefin technology. Why? Because we wanted to create alpha olefin sulfonate. Why? Because they were good detergents, biodegradable detergents, unlike LABs, linear alkyl benzenes. So it was clothes washing. There is nothing strategic about clothes washing, but we did not get it. All right? Because once again, they looked at us as competitors. Acrylic acid we wanted, making baby diapers, and there is nothing strategic about baby diapers, we couldn't get it. Butyl rubber, after 40 years, we got that Russian technology. So even when you say buy your dollars, etc., it's not very easy. One must realize. And that's why I always say a self-reliant India would be one which makes it on its own. And that takes me to the next one, make. I would say Make in India has started as a great inspirational movement. But Make in India to me should not be assembled in India. It has to be invented in India. Okay? And if you don't do that, you will have a penalty. And let me illustrate. Take mobile phone industry. For example, the Indian mobile phone companies like Micromax, Canon, etc. They had In 2015, 45% share. What is it in 2019? 7%. From 45% to 7%. Then who ate our lunch? The Chinese. The Chinese mobile companies like Vivo, Oppo, OnePlus, they were at that time 9% and they became 68%. Why? Because India had this trading business model of just assembling. They would get those STQs and so on. But Chinese kept on innovating by looking at the consumer needs, and they created something very special. So my friend, the first point I want to make is that it cannot just be made in India, as assembled in India, but invented in India. Innovation is the key, like our founder president kept on insisting, and I'm very happy that innovation is being used as a tagline in the Amity University. So I've talked about two options, buy or make. The third option is buy to make better. What does that mean? That means you have a technology, okay, which you can purchase and become supreme leaders in that. Best example is transistor. Transistor was not a technology that was generated by Japan. They bought a few patents, US patents, and Sony became the #1 sort of producer. That is buying to make better. And also, there are components that we buy from abroad. Like I was listening to Rajiv Bajaj on the other day. He said we export 15,000 crore worth two-wheelers. But in that, there is a component of close to 1,000 crore Chinese components, which are critical for us. And they are important in order to make that 15,000 crore export. Now, here is the big problem. And Shamaji, you must have seen that there is a big discussion about China and reducing dependence on China. So I want to focus on that, because in buying to make better, that is going to be important. We are hugely dependent upon China, by the way. If you look at our drugs and pharma industry, we are #1 producers of generic drugs in the world. But we depend upon what are called as APIs, which are active pharmaceutical ingredients. And can you just imagine, close to 70% of them come from China. And that 70% figure for furniture is 57%, electronics is 45%, manufactured capital goods is 32%. So we are enormously dependent on them. Okay. So if you look at what is called as FVA, FVA is foreign value added when you export. So if you look at Chinese goods in 2010, that was 10% China contribution. 2019, it is 34.6%. That means almost 1/3 of the value added in exports comes from Chinese components. And the remaining, like US, Europe, etc., Korea, they contribute 5-6% here and there. So when people talk about boycott China, I think we have to be careful. It can't be done overnight. So what the suggestion I have is that we don't talk about China less right now, because, for example, API, if we bring from 70% to 0%, our drug industry will collapse. So it is not China less, but less China, less and less China, less and less and less China, and finally no China. So we have to have a strategy on how actually we move on that. And I'm delighted that our government has moved very fast in terms of creating API parks, making investments, CSR studying, because after all, our strength is in process chemistry, in process engineering. What are APIs sort of all about? And within no time, we should be able to do that. So I've talked to you about 3 options: buy, make, buy to make better. Now the 4th option, make to buy better. What does it mean? You can extend your hand for a shake hand, but your hand will be shaken only if there is a strength in your hand. So therefore, there is no substitute to our becoming strong in research and innovation. And in-house R&D, for that matter, is important. I gave the example of alpha olefin. We went to Idemitsu in Japan, we went to Chevron in US, we went to Shell in Europe. They would not give the technology. I was on the board of IPCL and we started work. We said, forget about it, we'll start doing our own work. And we went up to a pilot plant stage, and unfortunately that project was not sanctioned by some finance people. And that was a great pity. But I remember I was traveling with somebody one of these companies, I will not name them. And he said, we are watching you very closely. Had you gone up to pilot plant, we knew that you will create something which is superior process and product and you will compete with us. We would have given you the technology. That's what I mean by make to buy better. That means on the innovation chain, you move on certain path, create a perceived threat that, look, I'll compete. And we have done that. I mean, if you look at supercomputer, I remember I was member of the Science Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister in Rajiv Gandhi's time. And Rajiv Gandhi asked us, what are we good at? And Rudram Narasimha was sitting next to me. He said, we are good at this. And he said, what do you do with it? And then supercomputers were denied to us. Cray will not give us the computers because of a variety of reasons, the threat of nuclear weapons and Russia and the rest of it, etc. So we said we'll do. And $10 million in 3 years were given, and great Vijay Bhatkar created that CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computation. Now I'll tell you what happened as a result of Make to Buy Better. In 1991, he created Param 8000. 1992, we exported Param to Russia and Canada. And I remember the Washington Post headline, Angry India Does It. Having been angered, having been denied, India decided to do its own. And I always said, why is India not permanently angry? To be honest, so that we do that. Okay, then you have started reducing the restrictions gradually. Then we created Param 10,000 in 1998, 100 gigaflops. And then what happened? The same Cray, which was not giving us the technology, came and said, we will give you the technology. And US sanctions sort of vanished in terms of supercomputers. This is what I mean by make to buy better. So we have done 4 options so far: buy, make, buy to make better, and make to buy better. Now the fifth one. Fifth one is making it together. Okay? Public-private partnership, the industry, public institutions, and so on and so forth. And there are brilliant examples. We today talk about vaccines. For example, late Dr. Bhan, a great man, had identified a strain, and we created this rotavirus vaccine, Rotovac, and Bharat Biotech, which is much in news. They became partners, and there were 19 institutions who sort of work together to make it happen. That's what I mean by making it together. Now, there again, we have to give challenges. The challenge being that it doesn't automatically happen. Like government has a big role to play. Like I remember when I was the Director General of CSIR, we remember in year 2000, we created New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. Leadership was the key word. We said we have been following, no, we must become leaders. And we picked up areas, gave grand challenges, and brought public-private partnership. In fact, it was very daring. For the first time, government money was given to private sector to be returned only if they are successful. So it was not venture capital, it was adventure capital. Okay? I'll just give you one example. For example, in bioinformatics, we were nowhere at that time. And I remember my going to TCS, talking to Dr. Vidyasagar, and I said, we want to create, I'm a 10x guy, by the way. India has to do 10 times better and 10 times cheaper. So I said, we have to do 10x on this. Accelerus was the best software. He said, we'll do it. They knew how to make a product, but they did not have any domain knowledge in life science. So we lined up 19 laboratories, like Center for Cellular Molecular Biology and so on, who knew functional genomics, structural genomics and all that. And together, I just put in $5 billion, and within 18 months, they came out with BioSuite. Okay? So this is the power of public-private partnership, that is making together. So my friends, what I want to say is that our agenda has to be not just buy or make, 2 pillars, but 5 pillars. Buy, make, buy to make better, make to buy better, and make it together. And the country has to work out a strategy in terms of what we'll do as far as strengthening these 5 pillars is concerned. Every company has to do that. And we have seen, given a challenge, India always does it. Like, you just saw government took a fantastic decision of saying no to the 59 apps, okay, Chinese apps. And what happened? Suddenly, the Chingaris of this world came up. And demands in terms of millions of downloads. In fact, their server practically crashed. And we showed that we can actually do it. If you look at, for example, personal protection equipment, 70% of it we were importing just 3-4 months ago. Today, we not only manufacture, we are able to export. Same India can do it, actually. If you look at ventilators, we are importing. But Marico Innovation Foundation, I'm the chairman of that, and Harsh Mariwala and Amit Chandra came together to put a price of 2.5 crore, basically, so that we create our own breakthroughs on ventilators. And within no time, we have, you must have seen the news, I mean, the kind of ventilators that we have got. You know, they not only match, in some cases exceed the international specifications, and at a cost which is so low, which is a fraction. We can do that. All right. And in the same way, I can go on and say how in that post-pandemic, we have demonstrated that we can actually do it. I think that spirit we have to sort of take forward. There's one more point I want to make in terms of Make in India. We must make India as an attractive destination. If you see the 2019 September Nomura report, where they interviewed 56 companies who wanted to relocate, you know how many of them wanted to come to India? 3 out of 56. But I'm quite sure that was 2019. 2020, the situation will be different. You know why? Because of the China factor. What people are looking at are creating partnerships where there are politically trustworthy sort of nations, and India is certainly one of them. And there will be new alliances now. Like Britain has proposed that D10 club, D10 alliances, 10 countries, 7 countries which are G7, plus India, Australia, and South Korea. So I had written, I remember about 10 years ago, a paper on techno-nationalism to techno-globalism. And those of you who are interested in reading that, you can go to my website, www.mashelkar.com. I repeat, www.mashelkar.com. Now what is happening is that techno-nationalism to techno-globalism, nationalism is coming back. There is a reversal, okay? But I would say it will not be nationalism, it will be not techno-globalism, but selective techno-globalism, where there will be countries who do thinking alike, like the trade blocks, there will be technology blocks, and India can actually take a lead. The last point I'll try to make, Sharmaji has given me 30-40 minutes, so I like to sort of stick to that, is the most important part that we must have. I mean, our greatest strength, and I've said this before, also in Amity, is talent, technology, and trust. Talent to both. I mean, you remember Atalji used to say India's future is in IT, IT as in information technology. I also used to say it is in IT future, but IT as in Indian talent. I remember mentioning this in Amity when I was there. But we must trust actually our own technologies. I'll give you an example. In my mother's name, I have an award called Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. This is the 10th year of the award. And we give it to something which is not best practice, but the next practice, and which works for the poor. Making high technology work for the rich is very easy. Making low technology work for the poor is very easy. But making high technology work for the poor is very difficult. So we give that award for that. And one of the awardees was Naveen Khanna from Delhi. You must have heard his name. And as you know, dengue, I hope none of you have had dengue. But if you have had, you will experience that just to know whether you are dengue and what stage used to take a couple of days. Now, Naveen Khanna created something which can be done in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And the markers were such that you could also know at what stage it is. So it was superior to the rest of the world. But nobody will buy it. Okay? Then one day what happened was that there was a dengue breakout and all the kits got exhausted. India wanted new kits. So they went to Australia, they would say it will take 2-3 months because there are processes. US also said the same thing. South Korea said we can give it. So order was placed. And that ship actually, by mistake, did not come to India, it went to Africa. And therefore, we were left with no kits. And there was no other option but to go for Navin Khanna's kits. And Navin Khanna picked it up, and today his share is 78%. But what I'm saying is that if the ship had come to India, we would still be using those imported kits. Can you just imagine? So talent, technology, and trust. Why didn't we trust the technology that our own people had actually developed? That's extremely important. And many times we have been ahead of the rest of the world in many technologies, by the way. I'll give you an example of Simputer. In year 2001, this was considered as a low-cost alternative to PC and shared devices which will permit truly simple and natural user interface based on touch, sight, and it could read as well as speak 7 Indian languages, just made for India. And not only that, it anticipated the breakthroughs that were commonplace on mobile, like for example, the accelerator, that was introduced by them, which came in iPhone later. Similarly, the dongle on the mail, the ability to write on the surface of the phone, that came in Samsung Galaxy much later. It was there. So they were ahead of the time. In fact, Bruce Sterling, a New York Times correspondent, said the most significant innovation in computer technology was not Apple's gleaming PowerBook 4G, nor Microsoft Windows XP. It was Simputer, a net-linked, radically simple portable computer intended to bring computer revolution. So we had the talent, we had the technology, but we didn't have the trust, because the way it goes, otherwise, if the government becomes the first buyer, they place an order for 10,000, let us say, you get market feedback, then you improve the product, create a proper business plan, and so on. Now, such a Simputer today is desperately needed, because we are talking about online learning. Yes, fine, online learning will come, but what about those poor villages, for example, which do not have connectivity, which do not have cheap devices like Simputer? I remember when I was DG, through the Nimitly, I had given a challenge, our new millennium technology, $2,000 laptop, can you do it for $200? 10x guy, as I said. And Vinay Deshpande came with it, basically. That $200 would have been today $30, $40, $50, basically, if it was productionized. But it could not go forward. It's the same thing that happened with Akash and so on and so forth. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have the talent, we have the technology, we have to have the trust, and we have to have public procurement policies. In fact, Amitabh Kant's book, which talks about 17 initiatives that will transform India, that has come. One of the chapters is what I've written there in terms of aggressive public procurement policy to support our innovations in an aggressive way so that we can move forward. The last point I'd like to make is, because we are in an educational institution, there was just 5 days ago, there was an event called by UN Secretary General, and which was orchestrated by Jeffrey Sachs. And there was a panel discussion on post-COVID higher education. And there were panelists where President of Tokyo University was there, President Tsinghua University was there, President of Harvard University was there. And I was invited as President or Chancellor of Geo Institute. And there was a major discussion in terms of the digital divide. And I mentioned this, that we are going to have a major challenge. I mean, maybe 160 crore children are out of school, but online education, how do you sort of provide that? And Jeff Sachs picked it up. He picked it up and said that access to digital infrastructure has to be a basic human right. And we are talking about 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Let there be 18th. That was the conclusion. So I think that is extraordinarily important, and we'll have to do that. And the last part I want to talk about is education is all about learning, doing, and being. Learning you can do digitally. Doing you can't do digitally. You have to use your hands. But being, the most important part, Shamaji earlier referred to, is very important. It's not just sympathy. It's not just empathy. It has to be the compassion, the social connect. I think that is extraordinarily sort of important, because that is the only lasting quality that we can actually create. And therefore, the only model is the blended one. It cannot just be fully digital. It has to be digital plus physical. There is no substitute from that point of view. Shamaji, I'd like to end by, I'm fond of talking about 3Ds, 3Ts, 5 pillars. So I'll end up with 5 pillars which our students can actually build their careers on, their future on. You can call them Mashelkar mantras, 5 Mashelkar mantras if you like. I think the first one is that your aspirations are your possibilities. Aspirations are your possibilities, and you have to keep them high. If you aim at Everest, at least you will reach Kanchenjunga. But if you aim at Kanchenjunga, you may not reach even Hanuman Tekdi. And if you aim at Hanuman Tekdi, you will be where you are. So keep your aspirations high. Second is perseverance pays. It is too early to give up. Winners are never quitters. Quitters are never winners. The third, and Ashokji, I know you are nodding, but a lot of these you have done yourself, by the way. I have just picked up from your life. The third one is hard work. You know, today, like instant coffee, we want instant success. I'm sorry. There is nothing like that. You have to work hard. At my age, I'm 77 now. I work 24/7, day after day, month after month, week after week, year after year. And I will do so till I breathe my last, whenever it is. So there is no substitute. The fourth one is that you keep on knocking on the doors of opportunity. They don't open. Create your own doors. Create your own doors. And I would give an example, like when I came to NCL, I remember 1976, imported equipment cost so much money, we did not have dollars. I had to wait for 2 years to get Vajramaniri Galvanometer. So I was knocking on that door of opportunity, did not open. I changed my field to modeling and simulation because this was the only thing I could use. I started work in 77, and within 5 years, I won the Bhatnagar Prize, which Sharmaji referred to earlier, which is considered as the highest. Had I kept on knocking on that door till it opens, I would have wasted 2 years. I did not do that. My last point is that there is no limit to human endurance. There is no limit to human imagination. There is no limit to human achievement, excepting the limit you put on yourself. So I'll go a bit anecdotal. Professor C.N.R. Rao, Bharat Ratna, is my guru. And I remember I became fellow of Royal Society, considered at the highest, one of the highest honors after this thing, you know. From 1660, only 3 engineering scientists have become fellows. And you sign in the same book where Newton has signed. You know, it's a great honor. So I phoned up Professor Rao. Sir, I become FRS. I thought he would say great and all that. You know what he said? Not bad. So I was very disappointed. Then I became fellow of American Academy of Arts and Science. You know, it was created in 1670. Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and only 7 fellows from there have become Indian fellows, have become fellows. I was the 7th. And I remember phoning him up. And you know what he said? Not bad. Then I said, at least, you know, when I became this US National Academy of Inventors, I was the first and only Indian so far to become that. Now I said, I'm the only one, not one of the 3, one of the 7. I called him. And you know what was his response? Not bad. Then I got upset. I said, sir, what do I have to do to impress you? And what he said, I want to carry that message to you. He says, and he calls me by my first name, not Raghunath, but Ramesh. He said, Ramesh, you are climbing on a ladder of excellence, which is limitless. Okay? And the only limit you have is the limit you put on yourself. Okay? So keep on climbing. But there is a message there. What it means is that no matter what height you reach, my friends, there are no limits to your achievement. And you should say, my best is yet to come. So my last mantra, when I close, I would say, every morning when you get up, what you have to do is to say, my best is yet to come. And that you will do when you are in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and you will live for 100 years now, the new generation. Every day you have to say that. My best is yet to come. Maybe today is the day. And if that happens, then we will place our beloved India in the Committee of Nations at a place it deserves rightly, which is right up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Mashelkar. We are truly honored to have the words of wisdom coming from the Fellow of Royal Society, the Padma Vibhushan, one of the greatest scientists we have here in India. Sir, you have rightly said that the world tomorrow is going to pose new threats, and maybe we have to be prepared for that world by reinventing and reimagining the post-COVID world. Your mantras of 3Ds as well as 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat, as well as 5 Mashelkar mantras for the student community undoubtedly are a great inspiration to each one of us. But the questions I have, and there are many questions coming on the chat and also in question answer session. Everybody, when you said it, that angry India does it. How to make India agree? That's my first question, because really speaking, not only India, if I would have given the chance, I would say the whole world should be angry on China, despite the fact that we are so well dependent on it. How do I really make India angry and ensure that innovation infinite becomes the mantra for everybody who is in education, especially in higher education, and make Mother India proud of making this nation once again the leader of compassion, peace, as well as the cutting edge technologies and mind-boggling scientific advancement. How to make India so angry? This is what my first question would be to you, sir.
Yes, that's a very, very good question, as a matter of fact. And I would look at, my hope, people call me dangerous optimist, and the reason I'm optimistic are the young. There's a nice definition of an innovator. Innovator is one who does not know it cannot be done. Oldies like me already know it can't be done, but young people don't know it cannot be done. And their aspirations, and they're being hungry for not only success, but the ultimate going ahead of the rest of the world. Forget about China, anybody else will be the key. I'll just give you an example, because I always talk about experiences, my own book of life. I was talking to some students, young students, and I said, look, the power of Indian education, higher education, like Amity University, it's a great educational institution, research institution. I said, where do our products go? For example, if you look at Microsoft, the CEO, Satya Nadella, is an Indian education product. Or Google, Sundar Pichai, is an Indian education product. Okay? So I said, you must aim at becoming that. One young fellow got up, and that is where you say the angry, hungry, aspirational, all those aspects. He said, sir, your generation, your only ambition was to go to US somehow. The next generation, they said, we'll not only go to US, but get a job in Microsoft or Google. The next generation said, we'll go to US, get a job in Microsoft and become CEO. Not our generation. We want to create our own Microsoft, our own Googles here in India. That is India that will deliver. I've seen post-COVID, because I've been very sort of deeply involved, the number of young startups from India, we have created new technologies, basically, right from anything, that you talk about. Like right here in Pune, I'm talking from Pune, that my lab, young people came out with the first testing kit within 6 weeks, basically, So these young people are our hope. What we have to do, that's why again I repeat, talent, technology, and trust. We have to put trust in them, because risk is the key in progress, basically. So trusting them, not just venture capital, but adventure capital, and investing in them, trusting in them will make things sort of happen. So I just look at the youth for the future.
One of the questions coming from Professor Syamalendu is, even if coronavirus vaccine is discovered by the great scientists of the world, and I know Indian scientists are putting also their very best in this direction, but there could be another coronavirus, more dangerous, more lethal than what we are currently facing. So what is the everlasting solution? How do we go about exciting the imagination of our scientific community beyond the limits of knowledge contained in the books and encyclopedia, and inspire them to think of something miraculous by which we could say that, okay, here is Professor Sharma. Nobody can kill him other than God Almighty. That kind, how do I really do that? I mean, how do I excite the imagination of my scientists to go beyond the books of knowledge and to visit the frontiers, not visible at the moment with the spectrum of light which I have for my eyes?
Yeah. I think the most important part, I would say, is this single lesson that pandemic has taught us. And that is, pandemics, this is not the end of the pandemic. There will be more and more.
Yes.
The only savior is going to be science. Science for survival, science for success. And that is why I'm very happy to see science has come at the front end. How many of you, I mean, at least in my generation, I have not seen the kind of television time that is occupied by a scientist today. Every day, practically, you know. And because the world now knows that for therapeutics, for vaccines, for anything, we have to depend upon science. So I think these are great days for reaffirmation of the power of science. And that is where I would like to see greater and greater investments in terms of. The second part is about the question about why the first wave, the second wave will come. It will also sort of modulate. So it is like a war. And in war, we are always prepared. War happens or not, it does not matter. You know, wars have rarely occurred on our borders. But the army is prepared all the time, isn't it? With guns and artilleries and the rest of it, etc. We can't drop our guard. And therefore, there has to be continuous evaluation, because normally our tendency is to relax after the epidemic is over. You know, that cannot be the case. It has to be continuous innovation. And the last part is that, like I said, make it together. All right? There has to be, because although there will be nationalism and greater tendency for nationalism, we have to realize that science is universal. And therefore, no matters, enemies of enemies, again, they have to partner in terms of science, because it's a question of survival of the whole world. And India is specially placed as far as vaccines are concerned. Today, if you see whether it is Oxford University or the other people who are developing the vaccines around the world, for manufacture, who are they dependent on? India. Because we have the capacity to develop 4 billion vials of vaccines, for example. You know, that is the sort of capacity. So India will always occupy a center stage in terms of vaccine. And it's not just in manufacture, but in research and innovation. There are 6 candidates that are being tested at the moment from India. That's not a small number.
The reason I asked you this question was that I was looking at Ramayana. Goddess Sita was going along with Lord Rama to exile for 14 years in deep forest. And she visits Chitrakoot, my home state. And she meets Sati Ansuya, the greatest sage of that time. She presented to Goddess Sita a pair of dress that, put it on, no virus will touch you. No mosquitoes will come near you. No insects will come and bite you, and you will remain fever-free and disease-free for not only 14 years, but till such time you put on the dress. And believe it or not, I excited the imagination of my scientists here and asked them to work out a clothing which could be antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-dust, and with self-cleaning property. Now, this kind of dress ensured that Sitaji had no sneezing whatsoever in the jungles of India as well as in Sri Lanka. Could we be thinking of tomorrow's dresses for the chancellors, vice chancellors, top scientists of the country, and also to our corona warrior doctors, where we say that, look, you are now well protected with the pair of dress presented by Sati Ansuya. India can perhaps do it. So should we put together a group of scientists under your global scientific R&D organization to look beyond the books of knowledge and think of something which could be taking care of this microbial kingdom which has suddenly become so damn active?
Yes, I would say that we have to create our new Ramayanas, if you ask me. And they have to be science-based because science is all facts.
Yes.
In science, you cannot imagine. Science, you have to actually make science work. And if you really see the fact that you and I are communicating through this device today, 25 years ago or 20 years ago, this would not have been possible, isn't it? So therefore, what looked impossible at one point in time does happen. So we have to keep that faith going. That's number one. Number two, the specific questions about protection. There are technologies. For example, look at, I'll tell you, today, the face mask is going to be a way of life for quite some time, by the way, particularly now that the evidence has come that aerosols, etc., they hang in air for a long time and they affect you. And therefore, even pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic, they can transfer sort of the disease. So how do you protect yourself? Now, we are using physical masks. What happens on the physical mask? They filter. But the virus just hangs around there. Okay? On the other hand, the ideal would be for scientists to kill it as soon as it touches it. It looks like a dream, right? No. There are sort of technologies by using very strongly positively charged, cationic sort of agents. There is something called Living Guard, which has been just now launched, for example, where there are 3 layers. The first layer, outer layer, actually, as soon as you touch it, what happens is that those strongly positively charged charges, and there could be something like 2-3 billion charges on a square centimeter, by the way. They attract the weakly negatively charged coronavirus, disrupt the cell wall, and it gets deactivated, and bacteria gets killed. Okay. Then there's a layer which does 99% filtration. Okay. And then there is a layer, because it's not just outside virus that is coming into you. If you are affected, the virus that you are giving away, that has to be also killed. So there is a third layer. Now, these technologies would have looked impossible, but they have become possible today. That is because of the continuous sort of research work. I'm giving you a practical solution, so like I said, 3Ds, by the way, Sharmaji, we talk about decentralization, digitalization, and decarbonization. The 4th D that is going to be most prominent is going to be disinfection. Because people have become so conscious of public health today that those technologies will come in a big wave, by the way. Contactless and the rest of it, as you all know. And once again, India has to position itself. We can be leaders in this. Provided we remember the science is the base on which we can build it.
Professor P.V. Sharma, I know that there are many questions and we will continue. But before we continue with the question and answer, if we can request our founder president to say a few words and share some thoughts, and then we can continue with the question. So, founder president.
Dr. Sharma, with your permission, I think this lecture of my brother, Dr. Mashelkarji, was one of the most important lecture of my life.
Oh.
If one meets somebody, listens somebody, or talks to somebody, which is totally in line of the mission of that person and in line with the mission of that organization. The mission of the MET and mission of Dr. Chauhan, it means me, is to follow the ideas, the doings, the achievements of Dr. Mashelkarji in the area of innovation. I would say he is the Bhishma Pitama of innovation.
Oh, thank you.
He very rightly told about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-reliant Bharat, 5 great steps, and I have noted it all. Then also, he told about talent, technology, and trust. So these things are, each word of that is learning. And also, the 5 mantras of Mashelkarji. This is the lifetime mantras for me. To all my listeners, I would say that I will show to the persons which are the bigger number than in the beginning, this book, show me, Sodi, show me on the, Sodi, hello, can you bring me in the,
You're visible, sir. If you can hold the book a little bit closer to the camera. Yeah. Yes. Perfect. Yes, sir. And a little bit higher. Yes.
still I'm not in the main,
Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah.
okay. So this is the book Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting. This book was mentioned by Mashelkar ji when he came to Dr. P.B. Sharma to University, MIT University, Haryana. And since then I bought a lot of copies and I have read it twice. I'm telling to the persons, those who are not in the beginning, and all those who are listening this lecture, if they will write a small one-page note, what best you have learned from the lecture, to first selected 25 students or faculty members or researchers, I will gift this book with my personal note,
Wonderful.
which would include 5 mantras of Mashelkar ji, which would include 5 criteria and step for Atmanirbhar Bharat, and which would also include all important things which which he has told, and that will be the asset of yours. And I will request keep that book lying on your table, because Mashelkar ji eats innovation, breathes innovation, sleeps innovation, and gets up innovation.
Thank
And this should be the mission of us. And I think after hearing Mashelkar ji, we all, sir, now the number is quite bigger, and but I will myself circulate email to all my more than 1 lakh students and faculty members, those who must be busy and otherwise could not listen. Because I think, Asim ji, this is for us the most important lecture, because our mission is, as I told in the beginning, to be the biggest in innovation private initiative in India and overseas, and later in overseas. And Asim ji, when I finish, can you tell 2 minutes to Honorable Mashelkar ji about your incubator, which is number 1, which is doing a lot of innovation, and a lot of entrepreneurs have been produced. At the end, Asim ji, I would say that we should establish a Mashelkar Innovation Shield, and that would be given every year at the convocation, in which 12 to 14,000 students get the degree from MIT University, Haryana, as well also, otherwise Atul ji will be angry upon me, that I also want to give this shield to MIT University UP, Mashelkar Innovation Shield to a student or researcher who has brought the best innovation.
Thank
Further, P.B. Sharma ji make a request to my brother Mashelkar ji. Mashelkar Innovation Award, I have told him, but also we would like to bestow upon him the Lifetime Achievement Award, because with that I will be more in touch, will have more possibility to listen him or to come in contact with him, because today I've got so much inspiration. Sir, I've got a very serious spine injury. I got in Dubai when I went to my campus, and doctors say, feel relaxed. But I will tell them, after listening to Mashelkar ji, I cannot be relaxed. He has given me so much energy, so much motivation that I want to achieve. Atul ji has also sent your best regards. He is on a very important conference line in America. I must tell to all my listeners, in the war, as Mashelkar ji also mentioned, there are 2 aspects, defense and attack. So we are in defense against Corona, but now the time of attack is coming. So Atul ji and Asim ji and other family members are trying their best to utilize the opportunity, and we are trying to procure many academic institutions, universities in America, in UK and Australia, because many are in the market, and I think this is the best time to utilize it. And Mashelkar ji, your coming has given to everybody such motivation, inspiration, energy, thoughts, that I'm so grateful to you. Sharma ji, you have been the finding director of DCE, finding vice chancellor of Delhi Technical University, and now the great achiever for MIT University, Haryana. Your scientists under your leadership are doing wonderful job, and we should keep touch with Mashelkar ji. That is my request to all of you. First, again, thank you, Mashelkar ji. We are so proud, so privileged.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonder, sir, we are working.
To you, you know,
Inspiration and guidance.
thank you. May I say a few words in response? Ashokji, you have such a big heart. I think one of the biggest that I have witnessed in my life. So you are so gracious, so kind, and I want to thank you for your not only warm remarks but creating the innovation shield. I think that is the greatest honor of my life, I would say. The second thing about the book that you mentioned, I'm very happy to inform all of you that the book was released in 2019 and it got the Best Business Book of the Year award. Here, by the way. So there was something for the business community, but more importantly, I'll tell you, it is there on 26 May. If you go to the YouTube, you will find the interview by our Chief of Defense Staff. Chief of Defense Staff. He says, couple of days ago, I read Mashelkar's book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting. And that is what we should be doing. It cannot be business as usual for India. And the rest of it, then he described how we can actually sort of pole vault. So business on one hand, academic gurus like you on the other hand, and Chief of Defense Staff on the other hand, I feel very, very sort of humble with that recognition of those thoughts, because the thought was a simple one. Frog leaps because he's afraid and he jumps few feet. You must pole vault. The size of your aspiration determine the distance to which you can go. Keep your aspiration high and you can basically do that. That's the message, as a matter of fact. So I'm so happy, and that's what India should be doing. Thank you so much.
Sir, we are truly proud of you, and I can see from the chat box, almost everybody who is connected is highly appreciative of your inspirational and highly motivating address. They are in fact full of praise for you for saying to us that trust is very, very important. And everybody is saying that these 5 pillars for Atmanirbhar Bharat are something, these must be the mantras for our policymakers to make India of our dream. But just one point I thought I must raise from my side before we finish, and that is in 1920, United Nations came into being. At that time, the nations were trying to fight with each other, trying to kill each other. Now, 100 years from that day, today, once again, we find that we are in a very critical situation. Do you think a new role for United Nations now to pay much greater attention to create a world which is full of compassion, full of peace, full of happiness, but more than that, prosperity and sense of commitment to be one family, world as one? Should we go back to basics and go to see that United Nations start beating the drum of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and inspiring imagination of one and all, so that we create a better world tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely. There is no question. UN came into existence in 1920, but centuries before that, India had said Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Yes.
It is exactly that. You know, the whole world is one family, basically. You know. So yes, there are times to revisit those great noble ideas, and that is going to be survived. May I turn to Asimji, because Honorable President had said you will talk something about the incubator innovation. I'm very interested in hearing your great initiative.
Thank you so much, sir. And very briefly, I will tell you, first of all, when founder met you and you gave the idea of innovation, it was such a deep thought, and our founder does things differently. So I'm happy to share that my birthday within the Amity group every year, Dr. Chauhan celebrates as Innovation Day. So
Wonderful, wonderful.
28th of September each year.
I see. Wonderful. I'll remember that. I'll remember that.
Simji, another day should be 1st January. 1st January also Innovation Day, which is the birthday of sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You're so kind. Every 1st January, I get a call from you. Yeah, wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Mashelkar, you had given the nation the thought of Saraswati to Lakshmi, that can be knowledge, businesses that we can then reinvest for more research and knowledge. And at Amity, for many years, we have been dedicated and devoted to try to build young companies and startups from within our faculty, our patrons, our students, but also entrepreneurs in the region. Now more than 500 startups are being supported. We have ourselves invested in almost 100 of the startups with seed funding. We're providing mentoring support, but there are various other initiatives like accelerators that are associated with it. We have RISE, Rural Innovation and Social Entrepreneurship Center. We have different verticals looking at biosciences, at education technologies. And the idea is that can we create the next generation of business leaders, like you mentioned, sir, that are not having to go abroad, but can we have the next Googles and the next Microsofts come from India? That is our dream. But I must say, whenever we work on these initiatives, all the inspiration is from you, sir. And very often when I'm with the team, your readings and your thoughts are always on the top of our mind. And our objective is that we become a significant contributor to the entrepreneurial ecosystem in India, that we give the platform to our students to be able to create employment for millions of others. And I think it's self-perpetuating. When there are a few success stories, they become role models for other youngsters. And so it is all a movement that you have started, giving this to the country as well.
Thank you. Thank you. You are very kind, very gracious. And startups is our future because they are not seeking jobs, they are creating jobs. And we require that as a matter of fact, you know. And we are the fastest growing nation as far as startups are concerned. And as usual, I'm quite sure Amity never follows. It always leads. And you will become a leader in this.
Sir, in Amity University, innovation is the mantra. And we firmly believe that innovation infinite is possible on the strength of the genius of our young India, as well as those who are associated with science and technology community. And that is why in all Amity University, great emphasis is laid on causing innovations in plenty. And we take pride in saying that we have 1,200 plus patents which we have filed, including the patent for Goddess Sita, which I mentioned. We filed a complete patent for that. And we are utilizing that technology now for creating masks, as well as, in fact, the PPEs, which could protect us very well, several others. But I'm pretty sure that everybody listening to you, the comment is coming, it was just outstanding lecture I have ever attended, coming from Dr. Rajiv Verma. So you can imagine how happy people are, but their mind is still quite worried about future, and they want to ask you how to take care of our psychology and psychic at a time when we are so much worried about the fear of death and the fear of pandemic, and then fear of one after another pandemic. What do I do to remain relaxed and calm as Dr. Mashelkar himself is? What is his mantra?
I go to that Atmanirbhar Bharat. If you remember, I talked about Atmavishwas.
Atmavishwas, yes.
To me, that Atmavishwas that we will overcome. You know, this is not the first pandemic that we had. There were so many, you know, plague, this, that, and the other, etc. One can go, and we always conquered. And this one also, we will conquer. This one, because it is so contagious, require discipline.
Yes.
Because discipline is going to be the key. You know, I always said that democracy, diversity, and demography are our three great strengths of India.
Yes.
The fourth one, we desperately need to overcome this discipline.
Yes,
what did parents do? They did not close down. Each one of them was disciplined. They stayed in their own homes. They wore masks. And what happened? Without lockdown, they could resume because everyone was disciplined. Let that discipline be there. Science will do its own job, basically. Without discipline, it will not work, I would say. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Atma Sanyam and Atma Vishwas must go together.
Yeah,
without Atma Sanyam, we would not be able to really keep our mind cool and focused on creating that bright future which we all wish to create for ourselves as well as for the coming generations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think I have exhausted all my questions, unless Dr. Sanjana, if you have anything to ask.
No, sir. Sharma ji, can you just ask 2-3 questions from those who have put on the chat box? Original what questions they have written to ask Mashelkar, and those who cannot get replied, just hurriedly Sanjana will read the names who have asked the question, so that at least they get the acknowledgement that these questions will be sent to Mashelkar ji per email and will get reply. So just 2 questions, read verbatim what is the question, and rest only hurriedly the names who have asked the questions.
Dr. Sanjana, any questions quickly from the chat which you would like to? Yes, switch on your microphone. Switch on your microphone first. Dr. Sanjana, switch on your microphone. That's it.
Yeah, there is one question from Dr. A. Tamil Selvi, Principal of Amity School of Nursing, Amity University, Haryana, that we would like to develop virtual simulation to train nursing students and also incorporate artificial intelligence in nursing education as is highly required during COVID-19 time. How can we proceed, sir?
Yes, AI, artificial intelligence, is going to play a critical role because, see, for example, I'll give an example. There is a startup, Imbibe, which provides an artificial intelligence platform in the educational technology area. Okay, so what happens is that the learning gets personalized, because today what we have is sort of a massification, where one teacher addresses 50 students and so on and so forth. But those students have different capacities, so as to say, and same lecture is delivered to them. So how can we personalize it? AI can actually do it. And in fact, that startup, there is a dream now that Mr. Mukesh Ambani has taken a big stake in that, and he wants to take that AI and use that platform technology to give free sort of AI-led assistance to 1 million students, for example, you know. So it is entirely possible to personalize so that it matches your own capacity to learn.
Dr. Sanjana, just read out two
Yeah.
more together,
Yeah.
as Honorable Founder President has said.
Yes, sir. There is one question from Shweta Manocha, who is from Amity University, Haryana HR department. And her question is, sir, what would be the future of students who wants to pursue their doctorates and postdoctorates from foreign countries, as this COVID has forced everyone to sit at their homes?
Yes, this is a very important question. In fact, this was discussed, by the way, in the meeting that UN Secretary General had called. For example, I have seen Australia, which depends very heavily. Their third biggest earner is, by the way, education in terms of their national income. Now, I go every year to Monash University as Sir Louis Matheson Distinguished Professor every April. From 2007 till 2020, this year I could not go because of the COVID challenge. Now, they depend very heavily on Chinese and Indian students, so as to say. So do lots of other universities. Their incomes depend upon that. So I think there is going to be this phase for the next couple of years, you know, where there will be difficulties. After all, there is a big caution that is being exercised individually as well as by the universities. And I think that adversity has to be converted into an opportunity as far as India is concerned. Why should our brightest mind, seek only PhDs from sort of abroad? We have sort of world-class universities now. Amity itself is emerging. There are so many others, as a matter of fact. And every year, I don't know how many $1 billion are spent. Is it actually necessary? I'm not saying that don't go. Go and come back like I did. All of us did. Or do doctorate and go for a certain experience. I have no issue. But what is not going to collapse because India is India, it's a land of infinite opportunities. And education, research and innovation, we offer the best, as a matter of fact. I just gave examples of our own products who are heading all the big sort of corporations. So I wouldn't worry about that at the moment at all. I would say it's an opportunity for India.
Just for the information of all the viewers, Dr. Mashalkar holds the degree of doctorate from University, from Institute of Chemical Technology of Bombay University. And he worked under one of the greatest scientists of that time, Dr. M.M. Sharma. And we are very proud of you, sir. You are the leading light of India's doctorate, in fact, what they can do. And they make us feel proud. But the disadvantage which India had, not having so many foreign students as others have, has turned out to be a great advantage now. And I think the foreign universities were greatly dependent upon Indian or greatly dependent upon foreign students. They are, of course, they have to find better ways of how to survive under these critical times. Anything else, Dr.
So there is one very important question which has come up, that India should produce many more Mashelkars from its university.
Yes, they should.
What do you think should be done? This question has come up from Professor C.L. Kothari, Amity, Jaipur.
How do we produce many more Mashalkars from our Amity universities and Indian universities?
How can I say that? I would not say Mashelkar. It should be Mashelkar plus. I'm not, you know. Yeah. And India has the capacity. I think it's a question of opportunity. You know, many of you know that I was born in a very poor family. I was, my father died when I was 6. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street lights. Okay, even gathering 21 rupees for getting into secondary school was a challenge. And I was helped by a scholarship of 60 rupees by Tatas. And it is incredible. I used to go to the Tata House, Bombay House, as director on the board of Tatas and also chairman of their corporate responsibility committee, basically, you know. So that transformation took place because I got that 60 rupees and the opportunity. So I think there are Mashelkars all around, basically. And they are in the remote corners of villages, they are in juggies. What we need to do is to pick them up, hold their hand, support them. 60 rupees is not sort of a big amount, but I'm sitting in front of you because of that 60 rupees for 6 years, actually, you know. So I think it is a question of spotting the talent and giving them the opportunity, not just education, but opportunity.
Sir, we are truly proud of you, and we pray to God Almighty that a person of your eminence should continue to have the excellent health and continue to bless the humanity for good 100 years plus. Jiveshu Shraddha Satam. And I also wish to pray that all those who are connected to this webinar also remain alive, active and healthy up to 100 years. That is the promise of the Vedas. Jiveshu Shraddha Satam, Sravanenu Shraddha Satam. So that up to 100 years our ears do not require any external gadget, and our eyes also should be able to see the lotus feet of God Almighty. Having said this, let me say that it was a matter of great delight and great honor for each one of us here in Amity University, and I know in participant people are connected from all over India, as I can see from the list here, and we are truly delighted that you could spare your highly valuable time of 1.5 hours with us, and this speaks for your love, affection, and the care which you have for each one of us. I have been greatly benefited from you right from the days of my becoming the principal of Delhi College of Engineering in 1990s, and I remember having you in my chamber.
Yes.
Blessing me there. Maybe that's the reason that I am the Vice Chancellor for the 4th time. I pray to God Almighty that each one of us who are in touch with Dr. Mashelkar have that blessings of God Almighty coming to us as well. Now, having said that, let me thank you also for giving us the mantras, the 5 Atmanirbhar mantras for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the 5 mantras for the student community, and the 4th D, which is very important, that is called discipline, and that is called Atma Sanyam, very much important for each one of us to practice. I should not say this, but I had a fever of 101.7 in fact last night.
Dr. Sharma,
I really recovered and could really be here, happy and healthy. And while I'm sitting in front of you, no fever whatsoever. So, God Almighty bless you and bless everybody connected here.
Dr. Sharma, I just taken Rajendra Prasad, my greatest scientist of the group, online. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, just give you a few words to thank Mashelkar ji, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Sir, one of my greatest scientists in the Amity group.
Wonderful.
See you again. I mean, Mashelkar sir is known to us for so long as INSA president and so on. And whenever you speak, you charge all of us. And believe that we are really charged. Most I like was this 24/7 work culture. And I'm happy that by coming from you, our colleagues will be listening to emulate 24/7 our work culture and the hard work. No substitute of hard work. If you do hard work, rest, everything follows. And I totally believe in this, and I really follow on this. Great time we had, and I'm sure I've seen the hundreds of people who have joined. They are really echoing the same feeling. It was a treat to listen to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Dear Prasad, please tell in which body you are of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. You are in a body, very important body.
Yes, sir.
Conference which you are holding, where you are the president in the month of
At this time, I'm SBC president.
Oh, wonderful.
So we were planning to hold the meeting in Amity this December, but because of pandemic, we are shifting probably to next year. And at that time, we'll look for you to come and, of course, grace us.
Sure, sure.
And
Dr. Prasad is the quietest and yet the most active scientist I have in Amity University, Haryana. He talks less but does a lot of work. Hard work, of course, is important, but he has a lot of Atma Vishwas also, I can assure
yes,
you.
that I have.
And he practices Atma Sanyam also, get up at 4:30 or so, takes 2 rounds of his colony. Maybe these days he is not going out.
I'm still
We are truly proud of you, Dr. Prasad, and the difference you have made in Amity University, Haryana.
Great.
Sir, we have really changed the whole thing. We totally R&D different campus, and with under 60 projects ongoing from all agencies, national, internationals. It's a big thing, and there's a whole range of activity continuously going on, even now. And if I share with you what we have done in the 4 months when we were locked down, it's a remarkable progress. And I'm very proud that Amity system supports this. And these online platforms have really never felt us any absence of physical contact. And I really agree that considering environment, we may really resort to working only few hours, few days in a week for a physical contact, going to campuses. And the rest we can do wonders by sitting anywhere.
Great.
I mean,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I should not overboost it, but fact remains that during the pandemic time, starting from 1st of March till 15th of June, we published 455 research papers.
Fantastic.
And the highest impact factor going to 13.
Fantastic.
And 9 as well. And then we had 12 high impact research and development projects, funded projects of value 4.8 crore coming to our university. And what more, 40 patents have been filed, including the one which I said, which is very important for nanoparticle coated actually mask, which can protect us from the disaster. So with this focus on research and innovation under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Aseem Chauhan, for whom innovation is something with which we can only live and survive and make India great. And he is our breakthrough leader. And under the visionary guidance of our Honorable Founder President, we are putting our very best effort to bring that added pride to Mother India. And we thank you, Dr. Mashelkar, for giving us this honor once again. But as Honorable Founder President has said, we would like to have you once again to bestow upon you the Lifetime Achievement Award, which you so well deserves, and that will give a tremendous amount of satisfaction that we have done our service to pay our tribute to one of the greatest scientists of Mother India. With these words, may I ask my Honorable Chancellor to give the parting words.
Dr. Sharma, our Dr. Silvamurthy is holding an inaugural address at Satyabhama University in Chennai. He sent me an email just to greet Mashelkar ji. During the lecture, he sent me an email to greet Mashelkar ji from Dr. Silvamurthy, who is my Director General, President of Amity Science Technology Innovation Foundation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I need to say one word.
Honorable Chancellor, sir.
Can I say one word, sir?
Please.
One quick word.
Dr. Mashelkar, we have got our own Dr. Mashelkar in our system, our Chancellor, Dr. Aseem Chauhan. Totally replicative, really. And I tell you, if I don't see you, if he's around, we are always charged. Don't miss you that much.
I will just not want to take more of your time. You have been always so generous to us. But I can assure you that all the people who are listening and all, as founder has said, we will be passing it around has been one of the most miraculous lecture and words that I have also ever heard in my life. I felt every word into our bone and blood. We will work immediately from the next minute to implement many of the ideas that you have said. So your vision for the world and the nation, we are with you. We are there as your arms to help implement all of your ideas. We are fully aligned with every thought that you say. As a group, as individuals, we consider you as part of our family. And we are so grateful to God that He has given you to humanity and to us. And as founder said, that the guidance that you have given has been so valuable to us. Thank you so much, sir. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Mashelkar. Thank you for your precious time. Thank you.
Asimji, a request to you. Asimji,
Our founder, sir.
could you please get me today itself the book of Amitabh Kant with a chapter of Mashelkar ji? I cannot sleep without reading that chapter. It is your job to get me that book today. Amitabh Kant is a very, very close to the team. He loves and likes them both. So, Asimji, get me the book today itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, you had 1 hour and 40 minutes time of great delight, of divine bliss coming straight from the greatest scientist on earth, Dr. Mashelkar. I wish to thank each one of you connected to this webinar and want to thank Amity University especially for giving us this privilege of having Dr. Mashelkar here. The team of Dr. Shondi, the IT team, had done tremendous job, in fact, connecting us so well in this very important webinar where we could not afford to go wrong at all. And I also wish to thank Dr. Sanjana for the hard work she has put in. And of course, I have all my reverence to our Honorable Founder, President, and Honorable Chancellor, sir, for giving their precious time. Dr. Mashelkar, each word of wisdom by you is our torchlight, and we shall pursue it with utmost conviction, commitment, and dedication in Amity University. Let God Almighty be with you, and let you continue to bless Mother India children as well as the children of the whole earth by your might of science and technology. Thank you so much once again for giving us this great privilege of having you with us today. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.